In occupied France, 1943, Nazi soldiers pose with women in a seemingly innocent photograph meant for propaganda. But beneath those forced smiles hides something extraordinary, something unnoticed until later, when upon zooming in, a team of Nazi commanders got the shock of their lives. The summer of July 1943 lingered hot and heavy over a small coastal town in occupied France. Waves whispered gently along the golden shoreline, their peaceful rhythm betraying nothing of the tension simmering beneath the surface. Corporal Otto Keller adjusted his camera lens meticulously, a task he'd performed countless times. Yet today his fingers felt unusually heavy, burdened by an unsettling unease. A few feet away, Lieutenant Wilhelm Meyer stood, issuing commands with practiced authority, orchestrating a scene meticulously designed to exude an air of effortless German dominance as Nazi soldiers posed with women. Meyer's idea of propaganda involved spectacle, a carefully manufactured illusion of harmony between conquerors and the conquered. Otto, drafted into this farcical theater of goodwill, found the whole charade increasingly distasteful. Each shutter click felt complicit in a lie, yet duty chained him silently to his tripod. "Stand closer," Meyer commanded, his voice cheerful yet cold. "We need smiles, authentic smiles." The line of local women, villagers requisitioned for the day's charade, shifted hesitantly. Their faces wore polite masks, smiles precisely calibrated, bright enough to placate, subdued enough to maintain dignity. Otto saw beyond their practiced facade, reading quiet defiance and silent suffering in eyes that couldn't quite conceal the truth. One woman in particular caught Otto's attention. Sophie Fischer stood among the others, distinguished not by overt beauty, though she had plenty, but by something intangible, quietly radiant. Her posture spoke volumes, upright, unbowed. Otto had seen such dignity before, often in fleeting glances or moments swiftly erased by military discipline. But Sophie held her poise longer, her gaze briefly meeting his, as if reading his hidden discomfort. It was her necklace that Otto noticed most acutely, an ordinary accessory at first glance, but one she repeatedly touched with a peculiar deliberation. It glinted faintly beneath the bright sun, reflecting something Otto instinctively sensed held deeper meaning. For a moment, his finger hesitated on the shutter button. He looked around. Soldiers laughed obliviously, amused by the forced companionship, wholly ignorant of the subtle signs woven through this seemingly harmless charade. "Corporal, is there a problem?" Lieutenant Meyer asked sharply, his cheerful veneer slipping slightly. "No, Lieutenant," Otto replied quickly, regaining his composure and adjusting his camera again. "Just checking the exposure." Meyer nodded curtly, satisfied for now, and returned to his staged mingling. Otto inhaled deeply, steadying himself. He refocused, carefully framing Sophie once more. As the soldiers smiled broadly, leaning closer to the women, perfecting the illusion of friendship, he pressed the shutter, capturing a moment that felt significant, though he couldn't yet say precisely why. Amid laughter and forced conversations, Otto quietly observed Sophie. She moved cautiously, her eyes darting subtly toward the distant horizon, briefly touching the necklace again, as if reassuring herself it remained in place. Otto couldn't shake the feeling he'd stumbled upon something delicate, dangerous even. After what seemed like hours but was likely mere minutes, Meyer finally gave a satisfied nod, signaling the end of their spectacle. Otto quickly packed up his equipment, carefully labeling the rolls of film, knowing he'd soon retreat to his darkroom and unravel whatever truth lay hidden within the photographs. Before leaving, he risked a final glance toward Sophie. To his surprise, she held his gaze firmly, silently imploring, communicating something intangible, yet urgent. Otto replied with the smallest of nods, barely perceptible, a private acknowledgement amid the public charade. As he walked away, gripping the camera tightly, a quiet dread filled his chest. Whatever he'd captured today had consequences far beyond propaganda. The images he carried back with him felt heavier than ever, promising revelations he both feared and desperately needed to understand. The makeshift darkroom Otto Keller had claimed as his private sanctuary was little more than a converted storeroom tucked in the back of the small coastal outpost. Its only window, covered by thick blackout curtains, allowed no intrusion from the outside world. Here, away from prying eyes, Otto felt the oppressive weight of the day's propaganda lift slightly, replaced instead by the soft glow of red safety lamps and the comforting scent of developing chemicals. As Otto prepared the negatives from the day's shoot, his mind continually drifted to Sophie Fisher and her necklace. The moment he'd captured haunted him. He could still vividly recall her eyes, so cautious yet filled with quiet defiance. Shaking off his thoughts, he gently submerged the exposed negatives in the chemical baths, patiently awaiting the image's slow revelation. Minutes passed, stretching into tense anticipation. As ghostly silhouettes began emerging from the darkness, Otto leaned in, scrutinizing each image carefully. Initially, the photographs appeared exactly as Meyer desired. Vibrant, cheerful soldiers, smiling women, an idyllic portrayal of peaceful occupation. But beneath that artificial surface lay something Otto could no longer ignore. Pulling out his magnifying loupe, Otto concentrated intensely, scanning each frame meticulously. And there she was, Sophie Fisher, standing prominently, her gentle strength unmistakable even in black and white tones. Her necklace glinted faintly, drawing Otto's eyes closer. Something tugged at his memory, a sense that he had encountered similar engravings once before in hurriedly examined British intelligence files the Wehrmacht had intercepted weeks ago. Breath tight with anxiety, Otto carefully zoomed in further. His heartbeat quickened as faint engravings gradually sharpened into focus. Tiny, carefully etched symbols he recognized instantly as secretive resistance code, intricately detailing the coordinates and names Otto knew had significance. His throat tightened. Sophie Fisher wasn't just a quietly defiant villager. She was part of something far bigger, more daring, more dangerous. Otto felt a wave of panic. He knew precisely what discovery meant for Sophie and her allies: swift and brutal punishment, possibly death. The realization gripped him like ice, forcing Otto to confront a choice he'd long feared: duty to the Reich or humanity. Just then, loud footsteps echoed sharply down the corridor outside. Otto jolted upright, quickly shifting negatives and obscuring the detailed print beneath blank sheets. Lieutenant Meyer's unmistakably authoritative knock sounded sharply at the door. "Keller, open up!" Otto steadied his breathing and opened the door, feigning casual indifference. "Lieutenant?" Meyer eyed the room briefly, his expression tense, unreadable. "Everything proceeding smoothly?" "Perfectly," Otto replied, managing a convincingly calm tone. "Good. The commander is expecting the photos immediately." Meyer's eyes narrowed slightly. "Make sure they're impeccable. Berlin demands nothing less." "Understood, Lieutenant," Otto said, saluting crisply. As soon as Meyer departed, Otto's breath escaped in a heavy rush. He had only moments to act. Quickly, he retrieved the negatives and, with practiced precision, set about carefully altering the critical images, expertly obscuring the necklace's engravings, just enough to prevent discovery, but subtle enough to avoid immediate suspicion. His fingers trembled slightly, aware that a single misstep could cost him his life. With hurried determination, Otto completed his subtle sabotage and developed fresh prints. He arranged the manipulated images neatly, leaving the original negatives hidden beneath a wooden floor panel, ready to destroy them later when the immediate risk had passed. Just as he began tidying up, the door opened sharply again, startling Otto. Meyer stood rigidly, an expression of stern urgency etched across his face. "Keller, urgent orders. You're being transferred immediately to the Eastern Front. Report to headquarters now." Otto's chest tightened, panic surging anew. "Lieutenant, I wasn't informed." "Nor was I, Keller," Meyer snapped impatiently. "This came from above. Apparently your photographic skills are needed elsewhere. Leave your equipment here for your replacement." Meyer turned abruptly and strode away, leaving Otto frozen, barely comprehending the sudden shift. He cast a desperate glance at the hidden original negatives, his mind racing. There was no time left to destroy them now. A single thought crystallized in his mind. Sophie had to be warned. Quickly gathering his coat and personal belongings, Otto hastily scribbled a brief yet urgent note. Risking everything, he slipped from the darkroom, passing silently into the shadows outside, finding Sophie discreetly at the village market square. She paled visibly as Otto whispered his warning. Her disguise had been compromised. Her eyes widened, a fleeting spark of panic swiftly replaced by steely resolve. "Go now," Otto urged quietly, his voice barely audible. "You have little time." Sophie nodded solemnly, gratitude and determination reflected clearly in her gaze. Otto turned swiftly, heart hammering, as he hurried toward headquarters, knowing he'd never see Sophie or this place again. Unbeknownst to Otto, his replacement, Private Helmut Gruber, had already arrived. Dutiful, observant, and suspicious, Gruber entered the small darkroom moments later, eyeing the neatly arranged prints skeptically, instinctively sensing something wrong. Outside, Otto felt each hurried step carrying him away from danger, and toward an uncertain future haunted by a revelation that had irrevocably changed his life. After formally introducing himself to the squad, and taking time to acquaint himself with the coastal region, Private Helmut Gruber began methodically examining the images Keller had produced. Each photograph depicted smiling Nazi soldiers mingling cheerfully with the local French women, perfect propaganda on the surface. But a nagging intuition told him something wasn't quite right. Keller had a reputation for precision, yet several images showed strange, subtle imperfections, oddly blurred details that seemed out of character for a skilled photographer. Meanwhile, miles away and already aboard a military transport heading eastward, Otto Keller sat rigidly, gaze fixed on the landscape blurring past the window. Each mile distanced him further from Sophie, from the danger he'd only partially averted, and from the chance to erase fully the evidence he'd concealed beneath the floorboards. Anxiety knotted his stomach. Keller knew his hastily sabotaged images might delay discovery, but he hadn't accounted for someone like Gruber, a meticulous soldier known for spotting details others missed. Back at the outpost, Gruber held one altered print up to the faint red glow, squinting carefully. His suspicion sharpened as he noticed unnatural inconsistencies around the neckline of one particular woman. Reaching into a drawer, he found Keller's magnifying loupe and peered closely. The blurred necklace raised immediate alarm. It was too deliberate, too purposeful. His pulse quickening, Gruber searched the darkroom more thoroughly. In the silence, every creak of the floorboards heightened his awareness. Instinct led him to kneel, probing cautiously until he found a loose plank. He lifted it carefully, his breath hitching as he revealed the hidden negatives beneath. Holding the originals up to the loupe, he froze. Clarity replaced uncertainty, revealing etched engravings unmistakably tied to coded Allied intelligence symbols. The implications struck Gruber immediately. Panic and urgency gripped him simultaneously. Keller had deliberately concealed evidence of a resistance network, risking treason to protect enemies of the Reich. Without hesitation, Gruber rushed from the darkroom, carrying both manipulated and original images, moving quickly to Lieutenant Meyer's office.